I have met with hundreds of retirees and soon-to-be retirees in my years working as a financial planner. This channel is focused on providing strategies and answering questions that will help you as you approach retirement. And in this video, I'm going to share a list of the top questions that I get from people who are approaching retirement and how I address them. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Mark Walhout. I created this channel to share ideas and concepts that I'm using to help people with retirement every day. If you want to get more videos like these, consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you're alerted when new videos are posted. So we'll start with the first question. These are in no particular order, but there's about 5 or 6 questions that I get consistently from people who I meet for the first time or maybe haven't spoken to in a while, and they're about their retirement and their preparedness for retirement. So the first big question is, naturally, am I saving enough for retirement? Or an offshoot of that question might be, do I have enough? This question sometimes is a planning question. They want to know how are they doing relative to a plan that they either have already or one that we've created for them. But a lot of times this has to do with a kind of a relative question, or becomes a relative question. What I mean by that is that people want to know how they're doing compared to other people. So how are we doing on average based on our peer group and our friends and our neighbors and things like that? And whenever I get this question, I always come back to big numbers, large averages in Canada. By and large, Canadians aren't fantastic savers, but ultimately how well or how poorly you're doing has nothing to do with your peers, your neighbors. It really has to do with your own financial situation. And I'll give you an example of that. So somebody who is retiring at age 55 and has no private pension and expects that they're going to live, till age 100, the amount that they're going to need to have saved up for that retirement is going to be a lot different than somebody who plans to work until age 70, also has a private pension, and plans to, live until the same age to age 100. So those are completely different financial circumstances. It would completely change the answer to the question. So the guidance here is always to build a plan that's customized to you and to your particular needs. The next big question that I get from people is, how do I lower my tax bill? Canadians do know that we do pay a lot in income taxes, and wherever possible, people want to find ways to eliminate or reduce taxes. And here we're looking at strategies that are just right out there in the open for the vast majority of Canadians. Very few are taking advantage of them to their fullest extent, but the simple strategies tend to work the best when it comes to tax reduction, smoothing tax over time, and lowering your lifetime tax bill. And I'm thinking of simple examples here like using RSPs, spousal RSPs, tax-free savings accounts, income splitting certain income streams in retirement, using tax credits to your maximum advantage, and other ideas like that. But lowering that tax bill, that's important. Layering income in retirement, that becomes another way that we can reduce that lifetime tax bill. But people really want to find ways to lower their taxes in retirement. The next big question I get has to do with Canada Pension Plan and old age security. Specifically, are those benefits going to be there for them when they retire? And I think there's this concern that the country at the government level is spending a lot of money, taking on a lot of debt, and they're worried that those benefits might be reduced in future years because the country needs the money. And there's a couple things I come back to here. The first is that Canada Pension Plan, the dollars that are in that program are held completely separately from the government's accounts. They're run and held by the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board. It's money that you've put in next to your employer, and it's earmarked for you. It's not money that's available to the government to access to pay for things like roads, for healthcare, for defense, and things like that. The second reminder that I give people is that the Canada Pension Plan is actually expanding. The program is actually growing. So the idea that the government would try to tap into those resources illegally in order to fund government spending is quite far-fetched. They want Canadians, by and large, to invest more into that program, put more away for their retirement. So I can't see anything changing in that regard other than that program expanding and becoming more meaningful for retirees, which it currently is. The third thing that I'll talk about is old age security. So old age security is paid out of government revenues. It's a line item in every budget every single year. It's not money that's held separately like Canada Pension Plan is. So I think that it is possible that the government might change these benefits going forward. But if we look back even just a couple of years, they've enhanced that benefit. For people who are age 75 and older, the old age security benefit is enhancing. There have been governments that have moved back the claiming age for old age security. It was moved back to age 67 under the previous government. And when the current government came into power, they moved the claiming age for old age security, the earliest claiming age, back to 65. So I think it's possible that we might see that something like that change. But the idea that that benefit would be completely removed or taken away doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. And this might be a little bit cynical, but a self-serving government may not want to remove a key pillar of the social safety net for elderly people if they want to remain in government. So that's a little bit cynical. That's probably as much politics as you'll hear me talk on this channel. But the idea that these programs won't be there for Canadian retirees, to me, it's something that we can think about, maybe plan a little bit for, potentially the reduction of old age security or moving that benefit backwards a little bit. But the complete loss of that program, to me, is probably not something that I would worry too much about. The next big question that I get from retirees or soon to be retirees is, what will happen with the economy? I do get this question quite often in meetings. What do you think is going to happen with the economy? And I think by extension, what they're asking is, what do I think is going to happen in the market? So they believe that if they can understand what's happening in the economy, they might be able to extrapolate from that what's going to happen in the market. They may also be asking, in many cases, about what's going to happen with inflation. And this is on people's minds quite a lot over the past year and a half. I have gotten a lot of questions about inflation. Generally, the thing that I tell people is that even if you could perfectly forecast the movements of the economy, that would not give you a lot of useful insight into what markets are going to do. And we don't have to look too far back. Last year, for example, there was still a persistence of very negative economic data. Inflation remained high last year, and last year in the markets were fantastic, relatively speaking, in terms of equity markets and as well as fixed income markets. And as far as worries about inflation, I think that we should plan for inflation to be high. We should have scenarios in our plan where we've looked at what that means for your retirement income. And we should also own assets that go up with inflation to protect us against that. Things like equities are a good source of inflation protection in this case. And then simple things like looking at the timing of taking Canada Pension Plan and old age security. The longer that we wait to take those benefits, the higher that those benefits become. And they're also adjusted every year for inflation. And then the final question that comes to me quite often that I'm going to talk about today is, what advice should I give to my kids? And a lot of times when I'm working with families, new families that maybe haven't worked with a planner before, they'll go through income planning, we'll go through tax planning, we'll go through government benefits, when to take those. We'll talk about their investments. We'll sort of come up with a bit of a strategy for them. And, after that process is completed, very often they'll say, oh, I wish that I had known this when I was younger. And then it turns into a conversation about their extended family and their children. And so I think there's a lot of retirees out there that get the sense or have the concern that they want their kids to be financially successful as well, but maybe they don't feel like they're well equipped to have those discussions with their kids. So there's some simple things that you can do. First of all, I know for myself, if a client asks me if I'll speak with their kids, the answer is always yes. Like, I'm always happy to extend my assistance to the children of my clients. But another thing you can do if you're comfortable is you can just have your children sit in on a meeting or two with your financial advisor. Just listen into the conversations that are being had. Now, this can be sensitive because you may not want to have, financial information shared with your kids. Some people are very comfortable with this. Some people are less so comfortable with it. But even just having them sit in, have them hear you speak to your advisor, the questions that they're asking you, the questions that you ask of your advisor, and they'll hopefully pick up on some ideas around the power of long-term thinking and the impact of taxes and retirement income and all these things. I think that's a simple step that people can take. So hopefully you found this video to be helpful. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to get more videos like these, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you're looking for a second opinion on your retirement plan, you can certainly reach out to me. My email is in the description section below, and there's a link so that you can book some time on my calendar in the description section as well. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll speak with you soon. Take care.